Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our English Learning Podcast. Today, we're going to show you how you can learn English just by talking about your day. It's one of the easiest and most natural ways to practice, especially if you're a beginner. And the key to this is using the past tense because when you talk about your day, most of the time you're describing what already happened.
Exactly. Think about it. When someone asks you, "How was your day?" you don't answer in the present tense, right? You don't say, "I eat breakfast, I go to work, I talk to my friend." Instead, you need to use the past tense. I ate breakfast, I went to work, I talked to my friend. This is why practicing past tense is so important if you want to sound natural in English.
Yes, and the great thing is you can practice this every day without needing a partner. Just take a few minutes in the evening, sit down, and tell yourself in English what you did that day. For example, I woke up at 7. I brushed my teeth. I had some tea. I walked to the bus stop. Simple sentences, but they build your confidence and fluency.
That's such a good point. And you don't need to make long, complicated sentences. Short and clear is better when you're starting out. Think of it as making a story about your day. Even if it's boring or routine, it's still great practice. You can say, "I worked on my computer. I cooked dinner. I watched TV." By repeating these daily activities in past tense, you'll remember the patterns more easily.
Let's try a mini example for our listeners. How was your morning today?
My morning was busy. I woke up late. I made some quick coffee, and then I rushed to my desk because I had an early meeting.
Now, let's move on to something very important when you're talking about your day, using was and were. These are the past tense forms of am, is, and are. They may look simple, but they are really powerful because we use them all the time in daily conversations.
That's right. Think about the present tense first. We say, "I am happy," "he is tired," "they are late." When we change these sentences into the past, we don't say, "I am'd happy." Instead, we use was or were. So the sentences become, "I was happy," "he was tired," "they were late."
A good way to remember is this. Use was with I, he, she, and it. Use were with you, we, and they. Let's try a few examples. I was at home yesterday. She was hungry after school. It was cold in the morning. And then with were. You were in class last week. We were excited about the trip. They were late to the party.
And don't forget about questions. In the present tense, you might ask, "Are you tired?" Or, "Is she ready?" In the past tense, these questions become, "Were you tired?" and "Was she ready?" It's just a small change, but it makes your English correct and natural.
Exactly. And of course, we also use wasn't and weren't to say something negative. For example, I wasn't at the park yesterday. She wasn't busy this morning. They weren't at the meeting. These small details really help you share your daily experiences clearly.
Let's give our listeners a little story using was and were. Yesterday, I was at the supermarket. It was very crowded, and people were in a hurry. The prices were high, and I wasn't happy about that. But the fruit was fresh, so I was satisfied in the end.
That's a great example. And listeners, you can try this same exercise. Think of one place you visited yesterday, maybe your school, your office, or even your kitchen, and describe it using was and were. Ask yourself questions like, was it quiet or noisy? Were people friendly? Was the food tasty? This way, you're not only learning grammar, you're actually practicing how to share your day in English. Now, let's talk about using regular verbs in the past tense, because this is how you can describe most of the actions in your day. Regular verbs are easier to learn than irregular verbs because you usually just add ed to the end of the verb. For example, work becomes worked, play becomes played, watch becomes watched, and cook becomes cooked.
Yes, and these are the kinds of actions we do every day, so you'll find yourself using them all the time. Think about yesterday. You might say, I worked on my homework. I played football with my friends. I watched a movie in the evening. I cooked pasta for dinner. These are simple sentences, but when you practice them, you're already building strong English skills.
A helpful tip is to focus on the sound when you add ed. Sometimes it sounds like T, sometimes like D, and sometimes like id. For example, worked sounds like T, played sounds like D, and wanted sounds like id. Don't worry too much about this at first, but as you listen and repeat, your pronunciation will get better naturally.
That's a really good point. And here's a mini story with regular verbs. Yesterday, I worked until 5 o'clock. After that, I cooked some rice and vegetables. Later, I watched a funny video online and laughed a lot. Before bed, I played a quick game on my phone. See how natural that sounds? Just a few regular verbs can give you a full picture of the day.
Yes, and learners can do the same. Take a piece of paper, write down 5 or 6 regular verbs like study, clean, walk, call, visit, play. Then use them to make sentences about yesterday. For example, I studied English for 1 hour. I cleaned my room. I walked to the shop. I called my friend. I visited my cousin. I played a game.
And remember, you can also make questions with these verbs. For example, did you study yesterday? Did you walk to school? Did you play football? And when you answer, you use the past tense. Yes, I studied. Or no, I didn't study. This practice will make conversations feel more natural and will prepare you for real-life situations where people ask you about your day.
Now, we need to look at irregular verbs because not all verbs follow the simple ed rule. These verbs are a little different, but they are very common in everyday life, so it's important to get comfortable with them. For example, go becomes went, have becomes had, eat becomes ate, and see becomes saw. These words don't look like the base form at all, which is why learners sometimes find them tricky.
That's true, but the good news is you don't need to learn all of them at once. Start with the verbs you use most in your daily routine. If every day you go somewhere, eat something, or see someone, then you can practice went, ate, and saw. If you usually have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, then practice had. For example, I had bread for breakfast. I went to school. I ate lunch at home. I saw my friend in the evening. These are very real and simple ways to bring irregular verbs into your practice.
A good trick is to connect these verbs to your own daily life, because that makes them easier to remember. For example, think about yesterday. Did you go to work or school? You can say, I went to work at 9 o'clock. Did you eat something special? You can say, I ate chicken and rice for dinner. Did you have a meeting or a class? You can say, I had a meeting in the afternoon. These small sentences are much more effective than just memorizing lists of verbs.
And don't forget about questions and negatives with irregular verbs. For example, did you go to the park yesterday? The answer can be, yes, I went, or no, I didn't go. Another one, did you see the movie? You can answer, yes, I saw it, or no, I didn't see it. The question uses the base verb, but the answer uses the past tense form. That's something many learners miss, so keep it in mind.
Let's make a little story together with irregular verbs so our listeners can hear how natural it sounds. Yesterday, I had a busy day. I went to the city center in the morning. I ate lunch at a small cafe. In the afternoon, I saw an old friend and we had coffee together. Later, I went home and had dinner with my family.
Now let's bring everything together and talk about how you can practice by sharing your day. This is where you get to use was and were, regular verbs, and irregular verbs in real sentences. Think of it like telling a little story about what happened from morning until night. The more you practice this, the more natural it will feel to use past tense in English.
That's right. Let's imagine you are at home in the evening and you want to practice English. You can start very simply. I woke up at 7. I was sleepy. I brushed my teeth and washed my face. I had breakfast with my family. Notice how we're mixing irregular verbs like woke up and had with simple actions in the past tense. This makes your story realistic and easy to understand.
Yes, and then you can move to the middle of your day. For example, I went to school. My teacher was kind. We studied math and English. At lunch, I ate rice and vegetables. My friends were funny and we laughed a lot. You see, you are combining was and were with both regular and irregular verbs to create a natural flow of events.
You can also make it interactive for yourself by asking questions. Pretend someone is interviewing you. For example, what did you do in the morning? You answer, I cleaned my room. Where did you go in the afternoon? You answer, I went to the library. What did you eat for dinner? You answer, I ate pizza. This way, you're practicing both questions and answers, which helps you feel ready for real conversations.
And for listeners who want an extra challenge, you can try adding more details. Instead of saying only, I watched TV, you could say, I watched a comedy show on TV and it was very funny. Or instead of, I played football, you could say, I played football in the park with my brother and we were very tired after the game. Adding little details makes your English richer and more interesting, and it helps you use more past tense forms naturally.
So when you finish your day, you can look back and make a complete story. I woke up early, I went to work, I had a meeting, I ate lunch, I studied English, I watched a movie, and I went to bed. This small daily habit will train your brain to think in English and to use the past tense without hesitation.